Hello, and welcome to Always with Awareness. I'm Awa and Doug.
And I'm Douglas Lodmell. And today we want to talk directly about spirituality in a certain context because it's kind of trendy right now to talk about the use of drugs and spiritually enhancing experiences, usually triggered by drugs, for your spiritual work and growth and development. And so we talked about it, we talk about it, we listen to other podcasts, and I just think it's good to put some texture to that. So, there's lots of drugs now that have been decriminalized, have started to be studied, hallucinogens in particular, like the mushrooms. Some cultures have used these things for spiritual growth and experience for, centuries.
Centuries.
Right. I mean, these are not new things. However, we had this big kind of in the 60s, this big like awakening when they discovered LSD and they started really having these amazing spiritual experiences, and people like Timothy Leary were advocating it for everybody, just do it. There was quite a snapback from that.
That's right.
And they basically said, no, nothing. And it really did kind of kill it. It definitely killed it from a research standpoint. All the universities could no longer even consider doing research on this stuff.
Yeah.
It still was happening, of course, in the background. I mean, humans are humans. They're not going to stop because you tell them to stop. They're going to do it.
That's right.
But now we've actually gotten back to the point where they are recognizing there's some real value in some of these experiences. So there's ketamine clinics now. There's mushroom therapy that people are doing in a clinical lab setting. There's some shows on Netflix and other streaming platforms that talk about the drugs in terms of spiritual growth, and it's reviving. So we think now is a good time to talk about it because it's there, and so if it's there, we need to deal with it.
We need to deal with it.
So give me your take on it. What do you think?
Well, human beings are so funny. It's just like we like to reinvent the world. It's like in the 60s with sexuality. It was just like before that, nobody had ever slept with anyone, right?
Right. Right. Well, that came with the drugs too. It's like
that came with the drugs too, right?
Let's just do it all.
Exactly, and it's back, and it's back, and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And the thing is, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even 2000s, everybody could have an experience, and it's personal. Now you have a whole platform of millions of people listening to you.
Right.
And you do not know who is ready and who's not.
Yeah.
I remember when we were living in Florida, a girlfriend of mine went all the way to, I think it was Peru, to do ayahuasca. Thank God the people who were there doing it, the shaman, have said, you're not ready.
And she wasn't.
She
was going for an experience. And,
exactly.
And they looked at her and said, this is not what you need right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And recently, a friend of mine said, I want to do it. Would you come with me? I said, as a witness to watch you do it, that no problem. But I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And she's like, but why? I mean, I said, sweetheart, if you cannot sleep at night, if you're not holding your mind in your hand enough to take care of your little insomnia, I don't think you need to go deeper into your mind.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the thing that I think we want to focus on in the show. There's plenty of shows out there talking about the value of these things.
That's right.
I'm not going to dispute there's value to these things. There's absolutely value to these things. I hope that research continues to discover the proper way to use that and access that value. I think right now what we really want to focus on is that there's also real risk. And it's you that gets to decide. You're the one that's going to decide whether you're ready for that. And sometimes you're not capable of deciding that because of the very thing that you're trying to resolve And so a bad experience can set you back further than you
Absolutely.
already are.
And that's where I was going with that. It's just to know, just like the Course of Miracles said, it's not everybody that can heal themselves with their mind.
Yeah.
And to go into your mind with not the right tools, not being ready, could be really detrimental to who you are. So that's why we're talking about it. And I personally wanted to really have this conversation because I see how in Instagram, some big coaches are saying, it changed my life. This is where I'm at today. If I can do this, it's because, but I'm like, wow, you're not aware of everybody who's looking up to you. It's not people who are ready.
Well, I think we need more conversation about what makes you ready.
Exactly.
And less conversation about, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing that's ever happened.
Yes.
And now, frankly, it's easier to access these drugs because of the decriminalization of some of them in some places, because of the more social acceptance that they have. I mean, marijuana, for example, is legalized in, God, half the states. Going to be all of them eventually. And so, and I'm not making a judgment of right or wrong about that. And if you think that's an interesting statement, then listen to the listen to the podcast on stop making things right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's not right or wrong. There is no right or wrong to this. But the workable, unworkable thing for your personal life is very important for you to consider because
That's right.
because I can tell you that unfortunately, a lot of people are getting access to this at an age at which they're just not ready. If you start, for example, using any kind of drugs, whether it's alcohol or marijuana or any of the harder stuff, at a very young age, teenager, 14, 15, 16, your brain is not fully developed. It won't be fully developed till you're about 25 years old. And when you start using substances that need certain receptors, THC receptor or alcohol receptors, then your brain goes, oh, we're doing this? Great, I'll make more receptors. Like your brain is very accommodating.
Yeah.
Your body is very accommodating. Say, okay, great, more receptors, more receptors. We're getting a lot of this stuff. We better make a lot of receptors.
Yes.
What happens though, if you do that before your brain is fully developed, you're going to live with those receptors your whole life. And so the head of the Toronto Addiction Clinic was made a statement. And it was that if I get somebody who was addicted before they were age 25, and the younger, the worse, my cure rate is very, very low. So you get somebody who's addicted at 13, 14, it's almost impossible. He said we almost never cure those people. They just keep coming back and back and back. But if we get somebody who didn't start their addiction till they're 25 or 26, 30, the cure rate is very, very high.
That's right.
Like very high. We can almost certainly cure them because they're not dealing with the same level of physical trauma to the body, the physical, like, I need this, that's someone who started young. So all this still applies with every substance you put in your body.
Yes.
So if you're young and you're listening to this, my advice would be do not even consider anything until you're 25 years old, because you don't know what you're doing to your body. And even then you need to be very judicious and careful.
That's right.
If you already are over that age, and you think that doing some type of hallucinogen might be good for you, you need to really understand and talk to people that have experience. Like, thank God our friend actually went to a shaman who had seen thousands of people do this, and he could instantly tell she wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
I think that the set and the setting are extremely critical.
Yeah.
The fact that things are happening in a clinical setting is good. So maybe you want to be part of a study. If you really, really think that you need to do this, maybe you want to do it in a setting where there's doctors present or where there's people.
It's so funny. I personally believe that we are the sum of our ancestors. I know people want to believe that it's not important. You are now living in America. You forgot about all your, I'm just giving an example, that you are from Mexico or Spain, and you have taught your kids and grandkids to not speak the language to the point where they think now they're just Americans and forgot who they are. But just like Sadhguruji said, if you want to know who you are, look at your nose. You still have the nose of your grandparents in there. So that means you are part of a tribe.
Yeah.
Right? That's part of you. And whatever your ancestors were doing, let's talk about epigenetic, you are them. Their genes are still living within you.
1,000%.
So if that is true, for me to go and think that I can feel what a shaman is doing in Peru, who's Peruvian, that the Peruvian had done it, but I am coming from Africa and my ancestors had come around it a different way. Just when I think about that, I'm like, I can understand why I am not called for that drug.
Yeah.
It's not in me. Or something else is called. And I'm sharing this because everybody has their own medicine within them.
Right.
You do. Every one of us. And it will at some point call for you. But listen to that call. And that call cannot be because you watch Instagram and somebody else, because of their experience, because of their life, or whoever they are, had a great experience, that yours is going to be like that. Now, I'm not saying that his experience cannot call you once you put yourself ready, because we have the control.
Yeah.
But you have to be ready to know what those signs is. Like the saying in Africa where we say, "Munulo neteli gintu kenen." Like it translates to, you cannot interpret somebody else's dream.
Yeah. Right.
It's their dream. It's for them to see what the links are within them. Right? So, but what we start to do is kind of trying to interpret somebody else's dream and say, come, it should be this way. Follow me this train. And we do that with everything. And we have seen that it's not for everybody. So sometime to know yourself and to be patient with yourself and to ask you within you what calls for you.
Yeah.
You know, so that is very important. Just...
Well, yeah, I mean, the Indians who use peyote, they're not out. They very specifically don't want people who are not Indian doing it. There's not like a big, hey, come, let us show you how we found God. It's very much a sacred thing that they're like, look, we don't want this. And if you look at the drug laws in some states, they've actually excluded peyote, where they've made things like mushrooms and other things that are hallucinogens decriminalized. They kept peyote criminalized from pressure by the Indians to say, don't make this a recreational drug. We don't see it as that. So that's leading to your point. That's supporting your point that you have a heritage, right?
Yes, you have a heritage.
So it's for you to discover what's for you. Nobody can tell you what's for you. But it's hard for you to discover that if you're not looking within, if you're looking without all the time.
That's right.
If you're waiting for someone on Instagram or TikTok to tell you what you should be doing, it's fine if you're inspired by them, but only if that inspiration is coming from your own experience. So, when I wrote the notes for this show, when we're out, I keep a little list on my phone of potential topics. And the topic that I wrote on this was, do some basic work before you look to drugs for your spiritual growth and experience.
That's right.
I didn't say don't consider them. I said do some basic work. In other words, start doing your work without drugs.
Yeah.
Find your path. And if part of your path is called to that, well, that's up to you, right? That's your experience. But don't just think that you can skip the work that you have to do and just go straight to the shortcut of drugs, because some people have tried that and it has been the worst thing that ever happened to them. They have had incredibly detrimental experiences, and in some cases life-altering, where they couldn't come back.
That's right.
So it's not a joke. This is something to take very seriously, and you'll know the answer. You know the answer, but you have to get some basic work done. You have to, find your own spirituality, and yes, maybe you want to look to your traditions.
Exactly. And the goal. What is your goal? Really? And like I was sharing earlier, my friend is like, for insomnia. I'm like, you don't go do ayahuasca to heal insomnia.
Yeah.
If already your own thought, you are scaring yourself with your own thought to the point of not being able to sleep, ayahuasca is not going to stop those thoughts. If anything, it can make it more alive.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like there is a basic work to be done before calling for a drug, any kind of drugs, whatever drugs it is. I think that in line with you saying that scientifically proven that if you start at age before 26, there is no chance for you to redeem yourself maybe. And if after 25, there is a chance for you to really redeem yourself. What it says is time is of the essence here. You cannot rush it. There is a time, there is a preparation time for you to access any kind of substance outside of you for it to heal you. It's like giving a 6 aspirin to a toddler. Would you do that?
No.
No. Even though you know it can stop your headache, but you would not give that dose to a toddler. It's the same.
Yeah.
And the same toddler at 15 won't ask you for your opinion to go get the aspirin. Mm-hmm. So it's the same with drugs that are outside of yourself. If you have insomnia problem, if you have anxiety problem, if you have whatever you have, start to work with it, the basics already. Where am I seeing right and wrong? Where am I judging too much? Where am I, next? Where am I angry? Mm-hmm. Where am I not forgiving? Where am I not grateful? Those are the questions that are the basic questions of life that if you do not answer that, wherever else you do, it's just to make yourself more afraid.
Well, think about it this way. If you know nothing about a subject and you go into some experience, you know nothing about horses, and you go to a clinic on horses, you'll learn a little something about horses. But you're not going to have very good questions because you don't even know what challenges you've run into. You're not going to be able to understand that. Okay, or cooking, right? You go to a cooking thing, you're not a cook, you've never ever even seen a kitchen, and you go to Italy and you go to a chef school there, you might pick something up, but you're not going to learn a lot because you haven't done the work necessary to even have the questions that would enlighten you. You're trying to figure out something, and you can't figure it out if you've done no basic work.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, what I just heard you say is, look, if you have anxiety, if you have anger, if you have fear, if you have insomnia, start doing the work on your own brain. Try to unravel that mystery. Try to unlock what's happening in there. And when you get stuck, when you have good questions, then maybe outside influence will be a lot more meaningful to you than just shooting straight for the outside for the answer, because it just doesn't work like that.
No,
it just
doesn't.
doesn't come like that.
It doesn't at all.
You're always going to interpret, by the way, you're always going to interpret your experience from the stage of development that you're at.
Correct.
Right?
Sure.
So if you're at a certain stage of development and you have a spiritual experience from drugs, you're going to interpret it at that stage.
That's right.
If your goal is to move your stage of development, you need to do the work to move the stage. So if you're suffering from anything, focus on that. Focus on the thinking that's causing the suffering.
That's right.
And then when you're stuck, maybe there's outside help that can help you.
Yeah.
And the same is true, by the way, for rabbit holes on the internet. They're just like drugs.
Yeah.
You've got to be careful and judicious about how you use them. Don't let yourself go down a rabbit hole of something that is making you more angry, more resentful, feeling that the world is more unjust.
That's right.
Without investigating, is that really what I want to be doing? Yeah. And so,
Yeah, so that's the point we want to make here. And it's very important because drugs are not something to play with. I mean, they do work at the right time, the right moment, for the right goal. Beside that, they can be a total chaos into somebody's being. So that's my intake. I've seen it more than once. If you want to know how it works, after we legalize marijuana, just go to downtown Denver.
Wasn't an improvement for Denver.
That wasn't an improvement for Denver.
Yeah.
So just that's the point I want to make here. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying that a lot of people did not have a very positive experience. I'm looking forward to the day people really realize that it's not for everybody and start calling everyone into their experience in a way that can affect somebody else in a different way. So for that to happen, you have the control of your life and you have the control of your thoughts. Because when you look at it, what does a drug does? Just open a pathway that is brand new, things that you never thought of. They could be beautiful, they could be scary to you, not that they are, but it depends who you are and how you interpret life already from where you're standing. Somebody who cannot forgive, cannot be thankful, personally, I don't think they're ready to have any kind of drugs. It's just gonna emphasize it. I've seen it with people that are friend of my family. Their simple anger couldn't fix it, end up being addicted to alcohol and cigarettes. Well, they're gonna die being addicted to that. Why? Because they have now something that is keeping them and validating them into that state and that they are.
Yeah.
Now they have a companion with that anger to be with. Yeah, and it's the cigarette and the alcohol.
You're right. The drug can be your companion in your dysfunction.
Exactly.
It's not always just going to open up an avenue out of the dysfunction. I watched the Netflix program on it, and there was a guy there who talked about he'd alcoholic his whole life. He did one mushroom experience. He'd been working to overcome the addiction. He'd been in AA. He'd been doing all these things. He just couldn't do it. He took the drug. It unlocked something, and he literally never took another drink because that's what he needed. But he had worked to get to this tipping point, and the drug pushed him over in that. He did it in a clinical setting, by the way,
yes.
and, with help and support. So again, not saying that these things don't have value.
Oh, they do.
They can have incredible value, but boy, it is just not something to play with. I mean,
no.
It's just not something to play around with, and definitely not for young people. Please, if you're young, please don't play with these things. You're playing with fire in a way that you may not be able to ever come back from. Alcohol, number one, please don't start drinking. Don't start drinking at least till you're 25. Just let the brain develop. Marijuana, the same. Anything beyond that, just don't touch it. At least until you're 25. Get your brain developed and start doing your work in other ways. Start reading books that help support you. Read things that are supportive of your spiritual journey. If you are any particular religion, look at that religion, look at the mystical side of it, look at the leaders and the mystics in that, and start trying to understand what they're saying.
Absolutely.
Find your path and work your path. And then if something is on your path that is for you, it will be obvious and it will be clear and you will be clear. But don't look down the path of drugs and alcohol to solve your problems. Alcohol virtually, by the way, never solves any problems at all. That has virtually no redeeming quality. So, that one is not even a hallucinogen. It doesn't wake anybody up. So
If
be
anything-
very careful of that one.
If anything, take all your awareness away.
It takes all your awareness away. I mean, maybe it relaxes you and lets the oxytocin out or something. I don't know. But that one, just don't mess around with it and be very, very careful. I think the young people have kind of figured that out.
Yeah,
See a
there's
lot
of
less
them.
use of alcohol
Yeah,
among
yeah.
the young people I know.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we see it. We don't want that.
Well, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Be patient with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. You are not a case that needs fixing. Live your life. Be happy. Be forgiving. Take your time. Grow. Grow by yourself. Grow healthy. Don't listen to these adults that always telling you, go this way, come that way. This is how I figure it out. Grow organically, And if you don't need the drug to wake up more because your life is great, you sleep good, you have love in your life, there's nobody bothering you, you're not bothering anybody, you don't need to be awakened more than that. It's okay. You're fine already. You're ahead of a lot of people.
Right.
Really. That alone, that means you're ahead of a lot of people. You don't need anything else. That was my take on that one.
Yeah.
Be patient.
Yeah, be patient, be kind, be loving, and be gentle to yourself. You don't need to rush it, and don't rush into becoming an adult if you're a young person. Really. You're going to live to 150 or 200 years old, as we said in our last show. The way things are moving, the way life expectancy, and all, you have such an amazing time in existence of humanity right now is so cool.
Yeah.
Like what's happening has never happened before.
Yeah.
We are all here to see it. And the last thing you need is to screw it up by getting your body chemistry addicted to something. Please don't do it. Because remember, we got to do this together. I need you. We need you. We need you with us on this path. We don't do it alone. We only win together.
Yeah. And we lost too many kids
Yeah.
with these substances. So please take care of yourself. Don't rush into anything like that.
Yeah.
One bad trip and can take you to years of trying to regain control of your own mind. So work on having your mind controlled by you, working for you. And then you see that all the chemicals you need are already within you.
Yeah, by the way, we have the pharmacy up here. We can produce anything we want. Any
Anything.
hallucinogen, any stimulant, anything we want. We can literally produce it within our own brain. We have a pharmacy up there. Learn how to use that.
Exactly.
It's more subtle, but it's more enjoyable. It's more meaningful. So, so hopefully this was helpful for you. And comment, like, subscribe, of course, share this. And if it's young people that you have in your life, please share this with them.
Please
Please
do.
ask them to watch this. Please ask them to think seriously about this, because it's just not something to mess around with. This
No.
is their life.
Yeah, it is their life,
Yeah. So,
meaning our lives.
our lives.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you next time.
All right, Daddy.